Hello, a very warm welcome to the 10-year anniversary celebration for the National Plant Monitoring Scheme. My name's Julia Hanmer, Chief Executive of the Botanical Society of Britain and Ireland, and I'm delighted to welcome you this morning on behalf of the National Plant Monitoring Scheme Partnership, Plantlife, JNCC, the UK Centre for Ecology and Hydrology, and BSBI. Whether you come along today as an NPMS volunteer or a wider stakeholder, or for your general interest and to find out more, it's wonderful that you can join us today. We've got a really exciting programme of talks and a panel discussion lined up for you. We'll be giving you an overview of how the National Plant Monitoring Scheme works, how you can get involved or get support, how the data's used, and most importantly, we'll be hearing from the fantastic volunteers who take part and from some of our partners who use the data. As a volunteer myself in the NPMS, I'm particularly looking forward to hearing some of the other volunteers' perspectives on taking part in the scheme. This webinar is being recorded and all the talks will be shared on the NPMS YouTube channel after the event. That's great. So I'm delighted to introduce our first speaker, Jane Madgwick, who's Chief Executive Officer of Plantlife. Jane leads Plantlife to champion the conservation of wild plants and fungi and deliver nature and climate solutions worldwide. Jane served as CEO of Wetlands International for 19 years after working for WWF in Europe and Australia. She became the first executive director of Global Commons Alliance before joining Plantlife this year in July 2025. And Jane will be giving us an overview of the National Plant Monitoring Scheme and future plans. Over to you, Jane.
So good morning, everybody. Thank you, Julia. I've been asked to do a look back on the celebration and also a look forward. So I'm really delighted to join our partners and volunteers here today to join in this celebration. It's really something special. Of course, the National Plant Monitoring Scheme was responding to a need, and that need is really because plants are the foundations of our environment. They are the building blocks of our terrestrial environment, and not only important for biodiversity conservation, but also important for the health of our landscapes, the sustainability of farming overall, for example. So we can really learn a lot from NPMS. It's really vital to understand how these plant communities are changing over time and how this might affect the many species they support and indeed our own well-being. And in the UK, of course, there's lots of interest and lots of long-term monitoring schemes. The longer ones are mostly for the wildlife, for butterflies and birds, for example. And it's only relatively recently that plants have been added to this long-term monitoring, a comparable scheme. So with land use changes taking place at pace, climate change, declines in biodiversity recorded across our habitats, it's really crucial to have a better understanding. And this requires a systematic long-term approach to plant monitoring. So NPMS was designed to meet all of these needs. It was made a high priority by JNCC in 2008. And it is importantly habitat-based, providing indicators of plant diversity and abundance through time at a large scale and using standardized methods. And very importantly, at the same time, it was designed to be accessible and inclusive. And you know that you can engage at different levels of detail. The 4 original partners came together in 2012 to devise the scheme and the methodologies, go through a pilot, which was run in 2014. And they were later joined by DERA, the Department of Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs, with the scheme's expansion to Northern Ireland. Very important moment. So we're here partly to chart progress. You can see lots of dots on the map there. The red ones are squares taken up. The blue ones are those available. So The full launch was in 2015 after the development and pilot stages. And here we are today, the 10-year anniversary. It's really a moment. And we're going to look at what has been achieved in this timescale, thanks to the dedication and enthusiasm of volunteers. So as I've mentioned, this is still a young scheme, but it's already having quite a big impact and the importance is growing. And this is an important time to reflect on the achievements and impact to date. So some numbers, over 1,500 volunteers with squares allocated nationwide, as well as over 5,000 individual plant recordings within over 1,200 of these squares. There's a few blue squares left. I'm joining today one on the far east, northeast of Norfolk, where I'm living. Looking forward to joining the team in this way. And in 2024, we hit a record of 250 botanical records submitted. So these are the important numbers and really amazing, tremendous effort by all volunteers involved. So apart from getting the records in, what's really important is how the data is used, of course. And the NPMS data has been used in over 300 studies to date. And there's a growing number of applications, like the recent NPMS climate exposure analysis and Natural England's Living England map. So this is really encouraging to see. And a really important use of the NPMS data is for the UK biodiversity indicators. So these are indicators that cover many types of wildlife to help assess how are we doing in biodiversity conservation overall in the UK. And 2020 was really a landmark year for NPMS volunteers because this was the first time ever that the contribution of NPMS data was made towards a national biodiversity indicator. And also it's the first time that an annual habitat indicator had been contributed to through a volunteer effort. So very significant. Also important is that species trends are now available to be seen on the website. And that, of course, makes this information much more accessible and usable for many more users, more than ever before. And the plants of the wider countryside indicator is part of this whole effort, and it draws on the NPMS data from the 4 of the scheme's best surveyed habitat types, and that's arable field margins, bog and wet heath, broadleaf woodland, and lowland grassland. So this indicator development is still developmental, still in progress, but it will soon be available, and it will be vital to inform policy choices and decisions across the UK going forward. So something to be really proud of. There's also been great progress over the last decade in terms of digital access. So I've mentioned the trend visualizations on the website, but of course the NPMS app has been developed and launched since. And hopefully this is making the field recording and data submission simpler and smoother for volunteers. The website is continually improved, but a lot of significant improvements have been made in the last 5 years in particular, including, for example, on verification messages that help the verification process for volunteers, providing more confidence in plant identification and highlighting learning opportunities. So this whole user journey from start to finish is under continual review. And it's important to say that the volunteer feedback on how this is going is vital to us continuing to improve it. There's a very active training program that is also still evolving and improving. We're very pleased with the enthusiastic engagement of volunteers in this, and also very appreciative of those more experienced volunteers lending a hand, leaning into this, as well as the trainers for their time and expertise. So this training program, of course, covers species and habitats as well as general field skills, and it has been expanded. We learned quite a bit through the COVID period about what we could do in terms of online training, remote training, and an overwinter mini-series has been produced. So now there's a range of online and field activities, and that's involving hundreds of volunteers each year. What's also significant, and I think Rachel Murphy will talk a bit more about this later, is the commitment to diversity, equity and inclusion, and the commitment to this followed the development of a strategy specifically for this in 2022. So looking ahead further, and in the same vein, really, all of the partners of NPMS are active members of the UK Terrestrial Evidence Partnership of Partners, Partnership of Partnerships, actually. It has a very long, difficult acronym. But this is all about collaborating to strengthen and connect and unify the efforts of all those organisations who are running biodiversity monitoring schemes and their volunteers across the UK to make one big consolidated network. And one of the things that this network will do is to audit the training materials and websites for accessibility and inclusion. So expect some improvements there. Of course, we want the scheme to grow, to expand our reach, and particularly to reach into those under-recorded regions, a bit further away from most of the centres of population, including some areas in Northern Ireland, Scotland, and remote areas. We need to target effort towards vital landscapes that are a bit under-recorded. For example, the raised bogs, the mountain habitats, and some of our at-risk coastal habitats, such as salt marshes and macaire. So for those more adventurous, this is important work to do. Looking ahead, we also intend to extend and deepen our collaborations, particularly with landowners, so that we can grow the scheme coverage and improve retention. And also to talk to some of the larger landowners to include NPMS within their own monitoring programmes. And I think we're going to hear from Sam Muniz of the National Trust, of course, are a big landowner, about how we've been working to maximise coverage within the trust lands. So this is an exciting development looking ahead. I've mentioned indicator development. It will be a really crucial milestone when all of those indicators that actually need and require NPMS data move from this in development stage to being fully assessed, fully operational as UK biodiversity indicators. So we're really looking forward to that. Also looking forward to intensifying our efforts for landscape scale monitoring. So there will be a real benefit if we can intensify our monitoring efforts in some of the key landscapes in the UK through NPMS Plus. There's great potential for this. The methods are already there. We're very interested in working with the natural capital and ecosystem assessment partners who can help increase resources for those who wish to engage with NPMS Plus and to use the interpretation and analysis tools on the website. We're looking for more resources to support NPMS Plus for this purpose too. So these are some of the things we're really looking forward to do to enhance the impact and reach of NPMS in the coming years. But of course, none of the achievements I've mentioned and none of what we're planning to do in the future would be possible at all without the support from volunteers, landowners and other stakeholders. So from Plantlife and our partners, huge thanks. And I'm personally very much looking forward to joining this team, doing this important work, and looking forward to hear more from the volunteers in today's talks. So thank you very much for your attention.